On today's episode of All Chiefed Up, are the Chiefs gearing up for a draft day trade, possibly for a young wide receiver or Allen Robinson from the Rams? Also, Kansas City has brought in 3 wide receivers for top 30 visits. We're going to talk about all that and more. Stick around.
What's happening, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to All Chiefed Up. Bleacher Report has put out a story saying that the Los Angeles Rams need to rebuild and that they could be looking to trade Allen Robinson for a mid-round pick. And of course, anytime a receiver is being talked about being traded, Kansas City Chiefs get involved.
They are. They say that we're the perfect spot for Allen Robinson. We talked about Allen Robinson last offseason. We like Juju better. But yeah, Bleacher Report is saying that Allen Robinson would be a fit for Kansas City. Would he be a good fit? Yeah, it wouldn't be that bad. What's a mid-round pick? 3rd round, 4th round? I would take one of our 4th-round picks and give it to him for Allen Robinson. I don't think I'd go any richer than that, though.
Yeah, Mike, we've talked about Allen Robinson quite a bit on this channel. We talked about him last year when there were rumors of the Chiefs trading for him last year. We talked about it a little bit this year already. We're not a big fan of getting Allen Robinson, and I think it would have to be a pretty good deal for us to even consider it, in my opinion. I don't think Brett Veach is going to reach to get Allen Robinson, so he'd almost have to fall in our lap.
Yeah, but at 6'3", 211, Allen Robinson does run a 4.6. He's the bigger wide receiver. We can use him at the X. We're talking about that. We brought in 3 wide receivers for top 30 visits. We're going to talk about in a minute. They're the kind of the same wide receiver there as Allen Robinson is. So Robinson does have some injury history, but other than that, he had 51 targets last year, 33 receptions, 339 yards, 3 touchdowns. It was a pretty bad year for him there in LA, but LA didn't have a lot going right for him all season.
A lot of people thought that he was going to go to LA and succeed with Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, but like you said, he was pretty quiet last year. 65.8 ranking overall by PFF and a 64.8 in receiving.
Yeah, I don't really think the marriage they had in mind with Allen Robinson and Sean McVay and Matt Stafford worked out very well in LA. It was an experiment that kind of went bad. I believe at this point they're in a total rebuild. They've got to right the ship. Getting rid of Allen Robinson for a 4th-round pick, if that's what they'll do, seems like a very big win for the Chiefs. And I would take that so far because he's proven, and some of these draft picks are not proven yet. So Allen Robinson for a 4th-round pick, I'd be totally down with it. You guys let us know. Do you think Allen Robinson would be a good pickup for a 4th round? Yes or no? Leave it in the comments.
Yeah, for sure. I think a 4th or 5th round pick, I could go for that. Anything higher, we're not talking about it. But they're also talking about the Chiefs trading up in the draft for some guys like Quentin Johnston, possibly. So do you think that a trade up in the draft for one of these guys coming out of college is more likely than seeing a draft day trade for Allen Robinson or for DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, they've mentioned Quentin Johnston. They did bring him in for a top 30 visit. I believe he's a guy out of TCU that can do what we may want at the X position. But again, he's fast, he's got decent hands, and his route running's pretty good. But at the same time, he disappears a lot when you watch him on film. I think if he can fall and slide past number 20, somewhere in the 20 to 25 range, Brett Veach may use some draft capital to come up and take him. I don't see us going any higher than maybe the top 20 to get him. I don't think we're going to give up that much to go get a project that, again, Kansas City doesn't love these big wide receivers. We've seen it with Josh Gordon, Kelvin Benjamin, you name it. They haven't really been able to get established in an Andy Reid offense. We tend to go to the smaller guys that can get open and get open in space. So I don't see us wasting a lot of draft capital on a guy that may or may not integrate as seamlessly as they think.
Right. And you think DeAndre Hopkins is completely out the window because Arizona just isn't playing ball. They're living in a fantasy land thinking they're going to get a 1st-round pick for him or even a 2nd-round pick. Teams aren't one to do that. And so I don't think that trade is going to happen. I think trading up in the draft for some of these rookies is probably more likely than going and trying to get a veteran on a draft day trade, in my opinion. And we did have 3 coming on top 30 visits, Mike, and we're going to talk about those. But we're going to get more into the draft tomorrow. You want to tell everybody about that?
Yeah, so tomorrow we got Ryan Tracy. You know him from RGR. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's going to come on. We're going to talk a little bit about drafts. We're going to do a mock draft. It's going to be at 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern. So be sure, jump on the live stream, ask us questions, watch us do a mock draft, and learn more about these guys. Steve, you mentioned the top 30 visits. We brought in Quentin Johnston from TCU, Rashee Rice from SMU, and Tank Dell from Houston. Which one of these guys do you like the best?
Yeah, so out of these 3 guys in particular, looking at their draft value and when they would get taken, I'm not a big fan of any of these guys. Quentin Johnston, you would have to trade up in the 1st round to get. Rashee Rice, you might be able to get him in, say, the 2nd round. He could come off the board in the 2nd, maybe 3rd. I kind of doubt it. And then you got Tank Dell, who's looking at probably 3rd round or so. He's fell a little bit because of his size and his age. He's going to be 25 this season, and he's only 165 pounds, so he's got a couple knocks against him. But I did notice that Quentin Johnston, there's actually another guy in the draft that's more athletic than him, and that's Jalen Hyatt. He ranked higher than him in athleticism at the NFL Combine. So if you're looking at that, you could probably sit at 31 and take Jalen Hyatt if you wanted to do that. But there's another guy that I like better than these three, considering where you could get him in the draft, and we actually took him in our mock draft 1.0 that you guys can check out on allchiefdup.com, and that is Trey Palmer from Nebraska. I actually like him as a fit better than any of these three guys, considering where we could get him in the draft.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Trey Palmer too. We took him in our mock draft. This dude has got a second gear. It's hellacious. He can get over the top. He can create space. If I had to pick of any of the three guys we brought in, I don't think I like the fact that we're going to trade up really far for Quentin Johnston. If he does fall down to 31, or if he falls to 26, 27 range, I would be okay with Brett Veach using a little draft capital to come up to get him. Rashee Rice, again, he plays fast. He looks good on film, but if you watch a lot of his film, he disappears a lot, and he's not as fast as he runs. His play speed's not very fast. Tank Dell, again, as you mentioned, the age, everything like that, but he does play bigger than his size includes. If I had to pick out of them, I would think Tank Dell in the third round is probably where I'd want to go. But I'm with you, Jalen Hyatt at the end of the first. Although the offense he ran there in Tennessee with Josh Heupel and Hendon Hooker as his QB, it was a very strange offense. He didn't really have to beat press coverage very much. He didn't really have to do a lot. He just ran open and ran free. And so that's hard to determine what that's going to look like at the NFL range. But the guy I really like out of everybody here is Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers from Boston College looks like he could fit in our offense. To me, he kind of resembles Tyreek Hill a little bit. He's a much better Mecole Hardman. I think he could come in and do what we need him to do. And if he could fall to 31 or if he was to fall to 25, I'd much rather see Brett Veach trade up for Zay Flowers.
Yeah, Zay Flowers and Nathaniel Dell, I think, are both guys that are more consistent than everyone else we've talked about. But Rashee Rice and Quentin Johnston, they both disappear a lot. You've mentioned that about both of them. It's very inconsistent. Sometimes you watch them play, and you're like, these guys have elite traits and skills. And then they disappear on tape for plays and plays and plays and plays at a time, sometimes halves, quarters, games. So they just have it in flashes. There's nothing that makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside about these guys being a consistent, good receiver that you feel good about taking that high in the draft. You don't see that consistency problem with Zay Flowers or Tank Dell when you watch their tape.
Yeah, I totally agree. But Steve, now that free agency is over, we're going to be talking about all this tomorrow with Ryan Tracy, RGR, again, 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7:30 Eastern. But now that free agency is all but over at this point, there's still a little few scragglers we can look at here and there. What do you think the Chiefs' number one draft need is? Is it wide receiver? Is it defensive line, specifically tackle or edge? Or do you think it's something else that we're not even talking about?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what Brett Veach is going to target in this draft heavily like he did cornerbacks last year. It could be offensive line. It could be defensive line. Those are the places that we need more depth at on this team. But what I think it's really going to come down to is what the value is of the pick. If we're sitting at 31 and someone like a Broderick Jones falls, you can't pass that up. You have to go ahead and take him and plug him into offensive line. That could step us up to maybe being the best offensive line in football next year if Jawan Taylor pans out. On the other hand, if a defensive end like Nolan Smith were to fall, and that's somebody that they want to go ahead and grab because of the value, you have to do it. And we've talked about it before. What if someone like Bijan Robinson were to fall to the end of the first round? Do you go ahead and take him off of pure value? I know we don't want a running back that early, but I do think they're going to draft one. It could go a lot of different ways. I just really don't know what's in Brett Veach's head, man.
Yeah, we have a lot of positions that we need to add some depth to. Like you mentioned, it's offensive tackle, it's defensive line. They could possibly go after another linebacker or a corner. So I think we're in position to play best player available. That's probably what we're going to draft. I would be hard-pressed to think that Brett Veach is going to waste first round on a wide receiver. We don't tend to do that. We usually look at the second round. That's more of Brett Veach's MO. Maybe a round 3 receiver. I would think offensive tackle is probably weighted the top need right there. If not, it's defensive end, defensive tackle. I could see a Kalijah Cansey. I could see a Anudike Uzoma, a Keon White, somebody like that could possibly fall like George Karlaftis did last year. Could totally see that's where the Chiefs go and amp up that defensive line and that offensive line. I think that's your two biggest values. I would think wide receiver, running back, players like that, probably round 3, round 4.
So if the draft were to go down tomorrow, we actually put up what we think Brett Veach and the Chiefs would do. Go to allchiefdup.com and check out our mock draft 1.0 and get in the comments and let us know what you think about that. Also, tomorrow night, we're going to be live with Ryan Tracy from RGR talking about the draft and doing a mock draft. Make sure that you catch that at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You don't want to miss it. Set your alarm on your phone, something. Got to be there. But before you jump off of YouTube for the night, make sure to check out this video from RGR where they say the Chiefs need to get Patrick Mahomes, Zay Flowers. Get in the comments, and thanks for subscribing and hitting that bell.
'cause aside from us, so I